Companies spend millions of dollars every year turning their golden product into a commercial. Today I wanna see if I can make commercials for popular products with $0. But the real test is, I'll be sending each commercial I made to its own brand and they have to love it. I wanna start with something that can give me energy to finish this challenge. And although the whole world is going crazy for Monster Energy drink or Red Bull, where I'm from, we love a more cheaper option called Switch. Everybody loves Switch. I only need 3 things for this commercial: a hand, a table, and a can. I could 3D model all those things myself like I usually do, but I found a free character and a can on the internet and I'll just modify them to fit the style of the commercial. So here's the can. Sorry buddy, I'll need your hand. And as for the table, I actually just need the table counter and not the leg. So I simply 3D modeled this bar and added an array modifier to duplicate it and make it look like a wood table counter. And just like that, we have a table. I now want to prepare the can for animation so that it can open and close. Like I needed to be able to do this. To which I cannot just do it automatically in 3D. Please let me know how to do it if you somehow know how. Basically, if I separate the opener from the can and go into edit mode, I can then add shape keys for 2 positions of the can. This basic position is for a closed can and this slider will be used to open and close the can. This will all make it easy for me when I animate a little bit later on. Closed can, open can, closed, open. I did the same thing for the can's opener. I just have to make sure that I animate them simultaneously later on so that it can look like the opener is opening the can. That's how animation works. Fool the viewer to think something is happening because of something, when it's all just multiple separate animations. The plan is to make the can falling from the sky and onto a table. A hand then reaches out to open it in an awesome, satisfying way. Sounds basic, but trust me, it's not all that sweet. Let's start with the easy part. On the first frame, the can is in the sky. A few frames later, it lands on the counter. I also want it to rotate as it falls. I don't want to use simulations in any way, so I basically have to animate gravity for that. Now let's crank up the level of complexity a bit. Unlike the previous animation I made for Ryan Trahan's candy, I want the camera to be more energetic on this one. It's an energy drink commercial, so I'll add a Bezier curve, then add 2 constraints to the camera. One to make the camera movement follow the curve I just added, and one to make the camera track the can's movement. This will basically make the camera move along this curve while also automatically focusing on the can. I then animated the hand to open up the can, adjusted all the graphs and settings to make the animation a bit smoother, and replaced the monster wrapping that came along with the can with the switch wrapping. But I felt like this is still missing something. I wanted the whole animation to loop, so if it's just falling from the sky and onto a table, there won't be a good transition to make the whole animation make sense. So I added a bunch of small clouds to help with that, added water droplets using geometry nodes, animated a single water droplet, which I honestly could have done better, and textured the whole animation with painterly materials since I'm leaning into a stylized commercial. The can passing through the clouds was made cooler when I added sound design, which really made the animation pop. Here's the final animation. It was cool to be acknowledged by Switch, and it's safe to say they love the animation. They literally said it. They even put it as their status on Instagram for the day. But the response I got on the next animation was definitely not what I expected. We're making an animation for biscuits. Oreos are the most popular biscuits in the world, but there are tons of Oreo commercials out there already. Plus for us, you don't just go to the supermarket and always get Oreos. They pricey, boy. Bakers is the biggest biscuit brand, and they recently released these new biscuits similar to Oreos. They just taste completely different. I first had to make the stencil for the biscuit in Inkscape. Now we can bring it to Blender with a white background. With this simple dislike mesh I made, I then added a subdivision modifier, displace modifier with the biscuit stencil as the texture, and a smooth modifier to increase the resolution a bit. For the cream, I added a subdivision modifier with a cloud texture under the displace modifier to give it a little bit of waviness. Boom, we have a biscuit. The plan is to make 4 variations, 1 full cream-filled biscuit and 3 broken into different pieces. I want the first scene to look like an explosion of biscuits floating around, so I made a guide for the biscuits using simple geometry scattered around. I then replaced them with a high resolution ones I just made. While I made it, I also 3D modeled a full biscuit pack and a glass, which are easier to 3D model since it's just a subdivided rectangle and a subdivided cylinder smoothed out and closed at the bottom. By now you must know that I never go for a realistic look. I just like to add a stylistic flair to my animation and keeping things simple. Since these commercials are made for social media, I always think about 3 things when I make them: the hook that can grab the viewer's attention, the body of the animation where I'll have to make the viewer to keep watching, and the payoff at the end. Saying it is the easier part. I already know the start will be showing floating biscuits, so the plan was to make the open pack to be gliding across them in an angelic way. I feel like it matches the vibe since they are like the new cool kids on the block. I had to add an empty box and parent the full pack to it since it would be easier to animate that instead. As you can see, when I move this empty box, the full pack follows, which is what I want. I want the full pack to rotate and hit the glass filled with milk moments later, which is more so changing the mood from it floating and retaining the viewer to wanna see what's gonna happen next. But this means I created more work for myself as I now also have to animate the milk. It looks dead right now. I know I don't wanna use simulations because I always avoid them, so I'll definitely have to be creative with this one. I think I'll use facets. This is the basis, and if I make the vertices to be leaning towards one side for this first key, vertices to be leaning towards the other side for the second key, and vertices to curve inwards for the third key, I can then animate all those keys simultaneously to get this movement when the full pack hits the glass of milk. I just added the fourth key to increase the height of the milk to match the glass's height since it was short at first. Now we're done with that, we can finish the rest of the animation. If you take a look at the package wrapping and Baker's promotions for these biscuits, you'll notice how they are always promoted with the tagline a swirl of magic. So I added some magical element to the animation using particle systems and also made a sign written that tagline to pop up at the end of the animation. The most challenging part about making these commercials is remaking the packaging of all these products since I don't have the actual product packaging from the company, which is what I always ask for if I work directly with the company. It takes a lot of time because I basically use another software to trace the picture of the product I have, then go to another software to combine the elements I made with downloaded images of the product. Sticking with the angelic theme, I made the setting of the animation to be in the skies with clouds around.